So Emily Bache has been doing programming for a number of years, but I met her 6 or 7 years ago, and I had bought her books, the Code Dojo Handbook, and she's got a more recent one on Salmon Method of Coaching, and I've learned a lot from her, and I respect her ideas and use her ideas. She's a very accomplished programmer, a technical trainer, and she's got a lot of interest in making this a better world and continuous learning. So I hope that's enough of an introduction. Most of you will know who Emily Bache is already, but I'm just going to go ahead and show the screen of her with the two books. And the topic is training developers to do technical coaching experiences so far. I'm really looking forward to this.
Thank you so much, Woody. So I'm going to share my screen as well so that you can see my slides. There we go. And then I've got some of you in the corner of my screen. So I appreciate you having your cameras on, if you can, because it means that I can see a little bit of some of the people I'm talking to. So thank you so much for this invitation, Woody. I'm very happy that I can be here. And I wanted to talk a little bit about what I do. So Woody already introduced me. He didn't mention I also have a YouTube channel, which I thought I would just like to highlight. I've been doing this about 9 months now, and it's great fun. So please check that out if you haven't seen it already. I'm on social media with this handle, Emily Bache, mostly. Do get in touch there, or just send me an email. That's my email address. So that's just a couple of additions there. But generally, today I want to talk about something I really believe. The way you write code matters. This is kind of a basic premise for what I do and what I from my own experience. And I think it's backed up by the research that the Accelerate research, for example, points out that the success of your organization is actually tied to your success at technical things like producing software. And in my world, if you could, that means producing high quality code. And high quality code is easy to understand and easy to modify and develop. And so that you can build all those fantastic features that your customers and users are going to think are wonderful, and you're going to be successful. So that's one reason for having this really good high quality code. But for me as a programmer, the way I write code matters because it makes such a difference to my well-being. If the code I'm working in is well designed and the people around me are working with me to keep it that way, then it makes my life so much happier. So I would like to work in organizations where people appreciate that the quality of the code is important. So this matters. The other thing that I'm a big fan of course, is test-driven development, where you put testing and testability at the heart of your software development process. And this is one of the big practices that enables this kind of code I was just talking about, this code that's easy to understand and cheap to modify. And this is something that I find when I first learned about this and started doing it like this, I was like, yeah, this is great. Everyone should be doing this. But it didn't really kind of turn out that way. Test-driven development doesn't seem to be as widespread as I think it could be for the happiness of developers everywhere and the success of organizations everywhere. So this is the first problem that I've been thinking about for a long time. And technical coaching is my best answer so far. This is the best way I know to help individuals and organizations to change the way they write code. And the way it works is a technical coach works with teams of development, developers, and they teach coding skills and build up engineering culture. The focus is very much on the way that the code gets written. It's a kind of form of engineering leadership. So some people in their career, they stay technical and they become an architect or a staff engineer. For me, I stay technical and I do coaching. I think it's a bit in the same kind of category as a progression from team member to technical leader as a coach rather than an architect or something like that. So I've been doing this kind of technical coaching this way for 5 or 6 years. now, and mostly the kinds of companies I've been working in are large European software companies. And these are probably companies you've heard of in telecoms, automotive, industrial, healthcare kind of sectors. And the other thing I've been doing at these companies is pair coaching, where I bring in somebody who I trust and we work together with the teams doing this kind of coaching. And I find that this is beneficial for me because I learn from the person I'm pair coaching with, and they learn from me, so they get something out of it too. But it also really helps the organizations we coach, because the people being coached get access to so much more expertise. And of course, I learned to do it this way from Llewellyn Falco, who's here. Hi, Llewellyn. Thank you. Because I was introduced to this way of coaching through Llewellyn and working with him. So this has been incredibly positive for me, and I think for the teams that I've worked with. But then there's still this problem that technical coaches are rare. There aren't very many people around the place who work this way. So I found that actually, what if I write a book about that to help other people who perhaps would aspire to do technical coaching? If it was written down how I do it, maybe that would help other people. So I gave this coaching method a name, the Samman method. It's a Swedish word, it means together. And I just was trying to write something that was kind of practical and concrete that other coaches could look at and say, oh yeah, I could do it like that. And so I think this has been kind of helpful. But then, of course, the other half of the problem is that organizations that want to hire technical coaches are also rare. So there's also this thing about, well, there maybe more people have been inspired by the book and so on to do some coaching, but it's still kind of rare to meet people who want to hire coaches. So I'm kind of working on that problem as well. I think it's harder. In some way, because a lot of developers are attracted by the idea of doing technical coaching, but organizations just don't seem to realize that how much they could benefit from it. So one of the things I've done is founded this Samman Technical Coaching Society. And this is a not-for-profit organization so that everyone who's a technical coach can join it without worrying that they're going to be joining the competitors and contributing to somebody else's brand. The brand is owned by this not-for-profit, and it's there's a official board of directors that's elected at our annual general meeting, and it's it's all kind of above board and organized, so that this can really be a community where people come and contribute and help one another. And my kind of basic idea is if we as technical coaches help one another and share our materials and share our experience and build one another up, then we'll all do a better job when we go back out to our various clients. We will make more of a difference in those organizations, and this actually will hopefully cause the demand for coaching to increase. So that's kind of the backstory behind trying to set this up, really, that is going to be good for everybody. And we've got lots of people who have come along to our meetings, and we have lots of kind of open materials and open meetings. But all the people who are actually members of the not-for-profit are people who I know, and most of them I've pair coached with. And we're kind of still working on how to get new members. But yeah, we're working on that bit. But mostly you don't need to be a member to take advantage of all the stuff we do. Okay, so that's a little bit of kind of background. Let's talk a little bit more about the actual coaching method that I do, the Samman method. There are two main parts, learning hours and ensemble. And ensemble, of course, is just another word for mob programming or mobbing or software teaming. I just kind of prefer this way of describing it, but it's the same thing. So so one of the parts of the Samman method is this learning hour, and this is where we are going to practice skills. We're going to use code carters to practice skills and learn new things about software development. And I'm sure you're familiar with the idea of code carters. These are some of my favorites: Fizzbuzz and Mars Rover, vending machine. And we've got descriptions of these on the Samman Coaching Society website, so that anyone could go there and find a good carter to work on. And this is This is valuable, just doing a kata, but I found that actually if you put a little bit more structure around the code kata and make it into a learning hour with more of a structure, keep saying that, but I mean that there's a kind of an intro activity and getting people warmed up, and then you do the exercise, and then you have a little discussion afterwards, some kind of conclusions, and that makes it just that little bit more effective and more inclined to make a difference. So that's kind of that one of the main parts of the Saman method then is that we have these practice sessions where we're learning skills, but we do it as a group, as a team, as well, so that it's not only a chance to practice skills, it's a chance to discuss with others, so that you can build up the rest of your team as well as your own individual skills. So, of course, these are all fun katas for practicing test-driven development. But the trouble is, I've found that there's a lot of situations where you go into an organization, you look at their code, and they're like, oh, we want to learn TDD. And you're like, yeah, okay, but your code, it's going to be really hard to do TDD. Even skilled developers would struggle with the kind of design that you're working in. So I think we need to practice some additional skills. We need to look at the kind of refactoring and legacy code skills as well. So there are a bunch of code katas on refactoring and learning hours that you hold on refactoring skills. So things like tennis and parrot and theatrical players, these are some of my favorite refactoring katas. That we've also got these kind of things described on the Saman Coaching website. I mean, I've been sharing code kata exercises for years and years, and but the learning hour aspect of organizing them, I think, is it's been really helpful to make that 1 hour you've got, that learning hour, really effective by the way you present the code kata and the way you slice a small aspect of it to focus on. So this is kind of one aspect of what a learning hour is about. So I like this picture. You may have seen me show this before because it's kind of trying to illustrate why you need more than just learning hours before it's going to really make a difference. Code katas are great fun. It's like having this beautiful prepared slope for you to go down. It's really fun. You can get some speed up. And then you go back to your normal production code and you're like, okay, am I really going to do TDD here? This is a lot more complicated. There's all these kind of speed bumps and people in the way. And this is where we need to perhaps be very skilled before it's going to be successful. Or we need help. We need somebody supportive skiing next to us who will help us to get through this difficult situation. So that's the ensemble part of the technical coaching. We're going to work in the production code, get the whole team together, more minds working on the problem, making it easier to solve. We're going to collaborate and write code together. And as a coach, I'm there a lot of the time mentoring. I tend not to take the keyboard or take the navigator role. I'm kind of in the background. Sometimes I will step in and navigate for a short while and then try and hand it back. But the whole idea with being a coach is that you're trying to make yourself unnecessary. You're trying to get the team to a point where they're going to be able to do this without you. So you hold their hands more at the start and do more mentoring, and gradually, hopefully, over a few sessions, you're able to taper it down a bit and then go off to the next team that needs some help. Because that's it. One thing I perhaps didn't mention, technical coaches don't tend to work full-time with one team. They work with a variety of teams in an organization. So the team that you're coaching needs to be able to still do stuff when you're not there. So that's important. Okay, so this was a short summary of Saman coaching. I wanted to talk about the outcomes that I've been seeing from this kind of working with teams. So I've got this little retrospective that I normally do after a block of coaching. So we've had maybe 10, 12 sessions with the team, half-day sessions roughly. And then I'll go and ask them about these particular 5 areas. So I've hidden their answers at the moment, so you can just see the 5 areas I'm asking them about. And these are the things that I'm hoping as a technical coach that I'm going to affect. I'm hoping that they're going to see a difference from the work I've been doing with them in their teamwork and collaboration. I'm hoping that they're going to write more unit tests, do more safe refactoring, work in smaller steps, committing often, and make better design choices. And so these are all aspects of skill and culture, which is what I'm trying to influence. And I asked them, well, did you see perhaps there was no change? Perhaps you've got increased skill in these areas, or perhaps you think even your team is more likely to do this in the future. And that's the kind of the really important question for me as a coach. Are they going to keep doing this when I've gone? Is this actually a long-term effect? So I put them in pairs and I give them these little green check marks and they put them on. So this represents more than, like, I think this was a team of 6 people. And they put their check marks on together. And you can kind of see this is quite encouraging for me as a coach, that people are saying, yeah, actually, we've learned more about this topic. We've got more skill with this. And I think it's going to make changes for the future. So that's really encouraging. And that's mostly what the teams say when I've done the coaching. So I'm kind of confident that the Salmon method in itself is it's a good thing. It works. It has a positive impact on the team, both the morale and the culture and the skills, and enables ongoing improvements. And then this, what I said at the start, the way you write code matters. So it's enabling them to be more successful with modern development. So we've tackled some problems. Next problem. Large organizations have many, many teams. And the kind of organizations that I'm working with, I'm kind of going around these teams one at a time a lot of. I mean, I know I said you could coach more than one team at once, but my personal capacity is quite low because I do so much else as well. So I kind of coach one team and then another team, and it would be great and loads of progress. And then I go and coach a different team. And then I'm like, yeah, but there are so many teams and I haven't been around most of them. So my first idea was, well, we need more coaches. What if we just bring in lots of people that I know from the Salmon Society and people that I've pair coached with, and then we can make a bigger impact all at once. And I don't think this is a bad idea, but maybe it's my skills at selling, but I haven't managed to sell this. So I kind of went back to the drawing board and thought, well, what else could I do to scale this so that more teams would benefit more of the time? And then I was thinking about, well, with the teams that I have worked with, there's always been at least one person in every team that I thought, that person, they could have a future as a technical coach. They've got an aptitude for this. They've got some enthusiasm for the way we build code. They've kind of, in some sense, got it when it comes to refactoring in TDD. And they might not be completely skilled enough to do everything that I do as a technical coach, but they've got that kind of enthusiasm and interest. So I was thinking, well, maybe what I should be doing is trying to train those people to do coaching. Perhaps I could get them to take a bigger role part-time alongside their normal job as some kind of team learning facilitator. I'm not sure if this is the right word for it. I didn't want to call them a technical coach yet because they're still kind of learning and it's only a part-time thing. But team learning facilitator seemed to be descriptive of what it is I'm trying to get these people to do. So what I want them to do to start with is basically learning hours. And I call these team learning sessions then. It's a Salmon learning hour, but hosted by a team member. And it's based on materials that I've prepared then. So that to make it easy enough, because that's the thing, it's these people have got another job, they're developers. If they're going to run learning hour sessions, there needs to be easy enough that they can do it without too much preparation. And I thought, well, what if I make videos that they can use in these sessions? Because I mean, I've done video training for, like classic video training for Pluralsight and like O'Reilly and people. And so I know the mechanics of making videos for training. But the idea here was, well, no, it needs to be done with the team, because all of the coaching I've done has been about coaching teams, because that's the context in which software is written. So can we make video training that works for teams, that ordinary developers can kind of host and get that? It's not enough to build just skills. We need to be building the culture and the teamwork as well. So that was the basic concept. So I've been making these videos, and they're based about on the coding exercises that I've already been using for years and years, and the kind of and getting the team to discuss about what they're learning, about the skills that they're working on, and the why they would want to learn them, and how their team is going to apply these. And then I've got this kind of activity board, the Miro board as well, to kind of try and focus those discussions and conversations onto the right topic, and to kind of push them a little bit towards the kinds of conclusions that I would like them to come to. So this is not just a video, it's also this Miro board and this discussions, and trying to get that to be a positive experience for the team. So the materials that I provide are the video for the session, and the coding exercise source code, and the activity board, basically. And that is what the kind of the physical stuff that I produce. But then that by itself, I can't just kind of throw these at developers in big corporations. Maybe if you're already an experienced coach, you can get this stuff and you're like, oh yeah, I can do this. And I'm making these kind of materials public for those kind of people too. But the ordinary developers is really who I'm trying to target here. And ordinary developers generally don't have a lot of coaching skills. There's not something that they've needed to get where they are. And they might have a lot of potential for being able to do this, but they haven't had any kind of training or practice at facilitation or coaching or mentoring, even quite senior developers often. So I felt that there needed to be a training for these kind of developers, where they're going to be able to practice facilitating things in the context of these kind of small group meetings with their team. So not facilitating a meeting for 200 people. We're going to focus on the kind of skills you need with your team. And then, of course, they need to get some familiarity with the materials that they're going to use with the team. So perhaps the training needs to include a kind of walkthrough of the materials and specific briefing for this session. And then what I've been doing as well is observing some of the sessions that they lead with their team, so that I can have a chat with them afterwards and say, oh, great job, encourage, you did this really well, your team liked it, you learned stuff, and your facilitation was great. And if there was anything they did that I thought could be improved, I can kind of weave that into my feedback, so that the developers kind of get some confidence from having me basically say that they did it well, and give them some pointers. So this kind of training I've designed it first for these kind of developers in big corporations, based on stuff that I've been doing before, of course. And then I thought, well, of course, this should be available via the Salmon Society, so that other people who are not my direct kind of organizations I'm consulting with can get access to these. So there are training courses, the same basic training courses now available through the Salmon Society, so that people around the world could potentially get the same kind of training. And if the materials are all, of course, available for people to get hold of as well, mostly free, some of them for a small charge. But these trainings aren't free. But anyway, the facilitator role, then, I want to talk a bit more about this. So the kind of facilitators that I'm trying to encourage are software developers who are part of a team, who have the trust of their colleagues. And I say that because I think it should go without saying, actually, but in some of these corporate environments, I get the feeling that some of these teams are really toxic. And I would just want to make it clear that there needs to be a basic amount of kind of, it would be okay for me to call a meeting and my colleagues would turn up and they would accept me leading the meeting. That's kind of there must be a bar somewhere there. But I'm hoping that the vast majority of teams in most corporations would most developers would clear this, that would be fine. And beyond that, it's this interest, this desire to want to help your team and to improve the way you work together. And that's actually that's the hardest thing to find in a large corporation. It's but I still think that there are maybe 10 or 20% of developers who are interested in this and could be recruited as a team learning facilitator. So that's kind of what I've been working on. And that's so I've got some experience now. I wanted to put a quote from a participant in the training and doing these learning hours with their team. So this is a quote from Christopher, and he's quite an experienced developer. He says, "I'm a developer since 2010, working in different teams in the back end, dealing with code bases older than 25 years. So he's got a lot of experience. I've worked with Christopher, and I know he's a very good developer. And he says, "I've always been interested in design, breaking dependencies, and clean code. I could run the guided learning hour sessions with a minimum of preparation." Went very smoothly. So this guy's like, he's most of the way to being a technical coach already. And he said, "Well, we had lots of fun getting together and working on that. It was a bit unfamiliar at first, playing this video in the session, but we got used to it quickly. And even those who thought they knew the topic already found they had something to learn." So yeah, so some of his colleagues in the team were also really experienced, but still they found these sessions helpful, and the materials that I came up with weren't too basic for them, at least. So this was kind of encouraging, that if you can find these people who are halfway coaches already, that they can find these sessions useful. But then I have this other quote from Marina Hirsch, and she's a much less experienced developer. She says, "I work in a service team for test automation. We provide tools for other teams, and I'm the Scrum Master for the team." So I observed some of the sessions that Marina hosted, and she did great. She's clearly got a lot of facilitation skills. That's why she's been asked to be the Scrum Master for her team. But she's less confident with being a developer and the development skills. But actually, that seemed to be fine. She went on to say, "These guided learning hours helped us a lot to have insights on how we can improve our existing code." So I think you don't need to be a really, really experienced developer to be able to host these sessions. So that was kind of why I wanted to include Marina's endorsement as well, just to kind of get the contrast. It should be accessible to all kinds of developers. So working with this big corporation, we've had a pilot program. This is a screenshot of their internal wiki, where they've put up some of these guided learning hour materials together with some information about technical coaching and interesting topics. And so we did this, and we recruited a bunch of corporate developers to try out these learning hours, and they were largely pretty successful. The teams were positive. The facilitators were positive about it. The session topics were found to be relevant, and it seemed to have a positive impact on the teamwork. With the specific skills, so these are the 5 things that I hope that we get out of coaching, and that the biggest impact, I think, was on the teamwork. We didn't hold enough sessions, I think, to have much impact on the skills, but I'm kind of hopeful. Of course, as well as running these in this large corporation, Llewellyn's been running some of these sessions remotely for whoever wants to turn up, and various people from that group have also been successful facilitating these kinds of sessions. So I'm kind of hopeful that this actually this could work as a part of getting some of the benefits of technical coaching without needing to hire a million technical coaches, and instead trying to train people from within teams. Back at the big corporation, things haven't been going so well since the pilot. The management have been a little bit reluctant to put more money into this and to get more people trained and get more materials. They keep delaying. I'm still hopeful that they will get things together. That there seem to be some kind of central corporate budgets difficulties that are way, way away from the people who are actually going to benefit from this. So, but I'm hopeful that this might, and I've got other customers hopefully going to be interested, and this is going to fly in more places than just here. But I wanted to mention that, of course, this is only part of what technical coaching is. The learning hours is only a part of the Salman method. And we need to get beyond code carters. The other part of the Salman method is ensemble in the production code. And this I find is essential for getting TDD actually going in a real situation, not just code carters. So I'm kind of thinking that if these team learning sessions are ongoing and become more successful at building up these skills, people will quickly realize that they need more. And in order to do TDD in production code, it is much harder. This is why we work in ensemble, because you get more minds working on something that's actually a hard problem. And I kind of feel that even if you don't have an experienced coach present, a team is much more likely to succeed with something like TDD if they've got the whole team gathered, and they've got, particularly if they've got somebody who's just like putting on the agenda that this is what we're trying to do. Even if there's no coach who can bring their skills and expertise, I have a feeling that this is going to be more successful. And even if they don't succeed in TDD, there's so many benefits to ensemble. I'm sure you know all this, but this is what I've observed when I've been doing ensemble with corporate developers in these big corporations. I've observed that the people, they lack words to talk about software design because they've always done it solo before. So they don't actually know some of the vocabulary, the words that you need to describe software design. They're not familiar with each other's code. They go into a piece of code that's in their code base that their team is responsible for, and they've never seen it before, or they've reviewed it once and forgotten it. So ensemble gives us this benefit of just becoming more familiar with what everyone's doing. And then there's the junior developers in these teams. It's a pattern I've seen a few times, that a really young, enthusiastic person joins the team, fresh from university, and they've got so many ideas, but they are totally lost in this enormous code base. And they get very little support from the rest of their team, and they get disillusioned and they leave. And it's the other half of that, of course, is that the senior team members who know the code base just have no mentoring skills. It's never something that they've really tried to do, or anyone's ever shown them how to do it. So ensemble is a great forum for this, for me as a coach, to kind of model how you do mentoring and how you involve people and how you bring on juniors and stuff. Anyway, you know all this. This is what this conference is all about. Ensemble is a fantastic way to build up teams. So I'm thinking is, basically I've picked out all these people in these teams who've got this potential as coaches, and I've got them doing these team learning sessions. The next thing, of course, is to get them to facilitate ensemble and to get that ensemble session into the team calendar and put on the agenda that we're going to do this. And this is the next step, I think. And when I wrote the abstract for this talk, the plan was I was going to be piloting this with my big corporate customer. And by now I would have had some preliminary reports of how things were going. But of course, the big corporation had budget problems and just everything is postponed. I'm still hopeful this will happen, but it's not happening at the moment. Anyway, the plan basically was that before they can go and do ensemble with their teams, they need to have some training for how to do this. And I've got a training that I've been doing now. This is the way I introduce ensemble to corporate development teams when I work with them. So it's also available through the Salman Society. Unfortunately, it's not free, but it's designed to train the coach. So instead of me getting together a group and saying, this is how you do ensemble, it's like getting a group of people who want to coach their teams and giving them the materials and the ideas about how to get started, what order to do things in, how to describe the roles. So yeah, so this is what I was going to be doing. I was going to be piloting this. They have agreed to it in principle, that we're going to do team ensemble facilitator training. And we're going to equip all these developers that are already doing these learning hours with their teams to also do ensemble. So this initial training, and then I thought, well, they're going to need more than that. They're going to need to take part in ensembles which are successful and have good facilitation, and so they can observe how it's done. So I was going to set up ensembles that I lead that they can come and observe or join in with, and on not initially on code carters, but then quickly hopefully moving into something a bit more production code like, so they can see how this is supposed to work. And then, of course, when they go back to their teams and start doing ensemble, I can come and observe and mentor them and help them there as well, at least while they're getting started. So this was the plan, and it's still my plan, and I still hope to do this when the big corporation gets their stuff together. But the thing is, with this particular pilot, it wasn't just the management who were reluctant. It was the developers who were reluctant as well. And that was actually not something I really had anticipated well enough, that it wasn't enough just to recruit people for this in the same way as I had for the team learning facilitators. There was a real reluctance to try ensemble. So I've been digging a bit deeper now and trying to work out why. I'm kind of expecting the management to be a bit reluctant, but that kind of corporate culture is so strong of that the management won't get this. There's no point in even trying, and the tight budgets doesn't help. But this kind of perception that it's not real work. Training is not part of is not real work. We need to spend our time on real work, and my manager won't buy this. I'm not even going to try. This kind of attitude. So I maybe you're sitting there thinking, yeah, I would have expected that. I wasn't expecting that. So maybe I'm just naive, but I've got some more work to do to try and persuade the developers in these corporations that this is something that they would benefit from and they would like to try. So my basic plan at the moment is to gain more experience with the team learning sessions, which seem to be more successful at the moment. And I'm thinking maybe just to demystify ensemble, I can offer open ensemble sessions. So my idea was basically to try and show what it looks like when ensemble is working well. We invite a group of experienced developers and coaches to do a code kata for a couple of hours, and invite team learning facilitators just to come and observe, which I'm hoping will be easier for them to sign up for initially than a whole pilot and doing stuff with their team, that they can just come along and watch and see what it looks like. And there may be people here who are thinking, yeah, I tried that, it worked. So, or it didn't work, and I've got this advice. I would love to hear more about that. So feedback would be welcome there. Yeah, so I'm just wrapping up what I'm doing and how things are going. The basic idea is that I'm trying to train developers to do technical coaching, and a lot of my focus at the moment is on ordinary developers in big corporations who have so much to gain from improving the way they work. Because the way you write code matters. That's still what I believe, and I'm really actively looking for ways to spread better ways of working in the code to the developers who really need it. An ensemble has turned out to be a lot more difficult to get these people to do than I anticipated, but I'm not giving up yet. So hopefully I will have better news in a few months and years about this. And in the meantime, I'm doing lots of stuff, and I thank you for listening to me talk about it. Thank you.